Now, the Philippines and the United Kingdom have embarked on a meat trade mission to open more possibilities between the two countries to trade meat products. Joining us today for a conversation on meat exports, prospects and food security is Mr. Chris Nelson. He's the Executive Director of the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Good afternoon, Chris, and thanks for being with us at such a short notice.
Yeah, good afternoon and welcome to all your viewers.
All right, Chris, the last time we spoke, we discussed about the developing countries trading scheme of the United Kingdom and how meat exports, among others, are seen as bright spots in the UK and the Philippines that they can cooperate on. Now, since last year, there have been these meat trade missions, with the most recent one held in the UK last July 10 to 16. How has that been?
Look, it's been very successful. As mentioned in one of your reports, this is key to food security. Obviously, what's happened here is that specifically we've seen a lot of growth of British pork. Last year it was up by over 30%. And this is helping with the food security and obviously price stabilization in the Philippines, because unfortunately, of course, the Philippine pickers have been adversely affected by the African swine flu. Now, the trip that just took place was two of the largest meat importing companies, that's Atkins and Ramcar, who we've been working with, and others. And this has solidified the relationship. It was organized by the trade board there, the agricultural, horticultural trading body. And both of the representatives, that was Mike Gomaya and Jet Ambalad, were able to actually visit the largest show, which is the Great Yorkshire Show based in Harrogate. So we're confident this is going to lead to further increases. And what we're looking here, Stanley, is to build long-term relationships.
Right.
It's beneficial to both countries, but again, I stress it's a great assistance to the Philippines also in terms of food security and obviously helping also, in some respects, obviously on the inflation in some way.
All right. Now, Chris, apart from China, the Philippines is said to be one of the key markets for UK pork outside the EU in terms of volume. Now, with the meat missions, what kind of growth are you seeing once connections and linkages are better established with British suppliers? You were talking about 30% in the previous year, using that as a baseline of sorts. What kind of growth are you seeing?
Well, obviously, the volume has gone up significantly. Therefore, of course, the growth rate will probably mitigate, but still be a higher figure. Much depends, of course, on what's going on in Europe. Let's not forget also in inflation, which was part of your discussion with your securities analyst, is a factor as well. Now inflation is beginning to mitigate recently in the UK and obviously in the US. So I still think there'll be a lot of growth. I think the key for this trade mission, let me not also reinforce the fact that we had two inward trade missions into the Philippines in May and December of 2022. I think it just reinforces the fact that what we're looking for here is long-term relationships. The UK has built and the Philippines has built up a trade. It's now at one of the highest levels ever overall, at 2.6 billion, that's combined pounds. And that's actually part of it is only part of it's driven by this. And also just to let you know that representatives from AHDB will also be visiting the World Food Exposition Expo,
right,
which is going to take place in Manila next month.
Okay, now, Chris, speaking of what the Philippines brings to the table, literally, what kind of exports are you seeing, meat or meat products or even other food exports from the Philippines to the United Kingdom that would really do better in terms of market acceptance?
Correct. So obviously you're referring to DCTS, that's the Developing Countries Trading Scheme, which was launched on the 19th of June. That was launched by our ambassador, Lord Beaufils. Obviously we supported that and we're very pleased to see that Secretary Pascual from DTI was there for that launch. What we're going to see is very much a focus, I think, in products like tuna, which is going to benefit from obviously zero tariffs. What we're also going to see, obviously, there are already existing exports, particularly mangoes and fruit products. So I think there's a great opportunity. DCTS replaces, for the UK, which was GSP+, because that's how we traded, and the UK was obviously part of the EU. So we anticipate the Philippines hopefully taking significant advantage of these improvements, plus also in terms of registration, simplification of process. So just to emphasize, we expect agricultural products, particularly on the mango side, other fruits, and obviously on the fishery side, we see from tuna.
Okay, speaking of trade figures from the previous years, especially in 2022, this would have reached 2.4 billion pounds, the value of trade between the UK and the Philippines. Of course, a large chunk of that would be the meat and the pork coming from the United Kingdom. Obviously at very high levels already, but these trade numbers should have been higher as more ease in terms of partnerships and linkages should have happened years ago. Now, what were the previous challenges that hampered trade between the UK and the Philippines to really prosper?
Well, I think it's overall what's hampering and has now improved. I think, first of all, I'd like to commend the administration, how it's continued to look to further liberalize and open the economy. That was a trend, to be fair, also towards the end of the President Duterte's administration with the passage of 3 key bills, Retail Trade Act, Foreign Investment Act, and the Public Service Act. These are very good signals. I think also going forward, we've also seen the Philippines has now ratified RCEP, which is a huge trading bloc. The UK has just signed CTPP, which is another large trading bloc, and obviously we would be welcoming the Philippines to consider that, joining that one. But going forward, I think the other thing that we want to see is further ease of doing business. That's also been noted by President Marcos and others. But really, we commend the way forward, but we have to keep this momentum going. We have to keep on opening up the economy. And I stress this because we've said on many, many occasions, Stanley, that we want the Philippines, for companies from the UK to come here and see it as a gateway to Southeast Asia. And obviously, as you would appreciate, we are in a very competitive environment, but we're pleased to see those moves are happening, and further liberalization opening up will continue to reinforce the competitiveness of doing business in the Philippines, as well as it being a very important market in its own right.
All right. In the meantime, it's really more on information dissemination and bringing the products to the respective markets in the UK and the Philippines. I know there will be more trade meat missions, if you will. What are the upcoming activities aside from the World Food Expo on August 2 to 5? What other opportunities are you seeing where you can promote and establish linkages between partners and exporters as well as buyers from both countries, Chris?
Sure. So, first of all, we've just had a very successful event on July 13th, which was, of course, the how we reviewed the last year of the current administration and looking forward. And obviously, we disseminate that to all our partners and let people know what are the developments in the Philippines. We also have, for one of our clients, we're going to have which is called Brazen. They're actually a very large manufacturer of gaming chairs, so they're going to have an event and meeting of potential business partners. And going forward, again, I'd like to herald our plans, although it's not finalized yet, that we will have the Great British Festival at the beginning of 2024. We had the revival of that last year, this year in 2023. We had it in March. And that's an opportunity to highlight and showcase UK brands and opportunities for partnerships going forward with potentially new brands. So we're looking to do that. We will continue to be very active, and I'd just like to also commend, obviously, our embassy and the Department of Business and Trade. There has been a lot of visits here, and I think that the Philippines and the UK, which is in their 77th year of diplomatic relations, will continue to do strongly. So we'll have a whole series of events going forward, and we will continue to work with our partner networks in the UK, particularly other chambers, other business groups, and this will be of a great assistance to disseminate, as you rightly said, Stanley, some of these important developments as we continue to work with the Philippine government to keep on reopening or further opening the Philippine economy.
All right, we do hope to hear more updates about these trade missions and where they are leading to. Chris Nelson again, hope to have you once more on the program for updates. We appreciate your time. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Stanley, and have a very good day to you and all your viewers. Much appreciated.